To be a better gamer. It's part 2, where we're going to be looking at EG's IdrA versus TSL Revival. We talked a little bit about what was the cool, inspiring aspect to the play, and let's go ahead and hop into the game and look at some ultra specifics, shall we? Yeah, I think we should. So there's a big difference between, and by the way, here's the magic moment. Let's actually just cut up to like the, come on computer, come on sweetie, come on, don't crash on me. So if we come to this moment, it's very easy to say, oh, well, IdrA has more drones, that's why he wins. But when you are playing the game, you don't ever just have more drones, you have to get more drones. And it's that process of the getting that is the actual hard question, what's actually interesting about the game. So let's go ahead and look at the start of the game. We're going to take a little bit of an examination. At their openings, talk a little bit about what is cool about that, and hopefully get to that key mid-game moment and talk about that a good bit. And then for the second half of the game, look at sort of the goals and decision-making that ends up going on. It's so important that you have simple, clearly stated goals when you are playing. Very, very, very clear and simply stated goals. Something like, I want to deny his 4th expansion. I want to get my gold up as quickly as possible. I am trying to attack at location blah. Big questions to ask. So regarding this build, pretty simple logic. IdrA scouts over here, sees that his opponent is not here, so they know it's a cross-map game. They know that these are the other two starting positions. So a hatch at our natural is good. We're then going to build our extractor before we build our pool, and the simple idea is that the only thing we're really worried about are some ridiculously early pool builds that we can actually hold off with drones. We'll end up canceling this hatch. We don't really want to do that, but that's kind of the basic structure to the start of this build. Against everything else, we really want to have speed for our Zerglings as quickly as possible, as that really is one of the only effective ways to hold off his Zerglings with speed. And again, what I'm doing right now is I'm saying, here is this opening, and here's this opening against A, B, C, D, E, and F. Here's how you deal with A, and B, and C, and D, blah, blah, blah. Against 10 pools, we have to do this weird sort of cancel, maybe take some damage, largely defend with drones. Against a pool gas, we were getting our gas up early so we can sort of match them with speed. Against another early expander, another thing we really need to consider, we are getting speed up very, very early. So that way we can put pressure back on an early expander. And in particular versus your identical race, Terran versus Terran, Protoss versus Protoss, Zerg versus Zerg, people have an odd tendency not to ever consider my build against itself. You know what I'm saying? They never consider, what if he's doing the same shit as me? They'll say something like, here's a fast robo build, and it can hold a 4-gate, and it can hold Blink Stalker, and it can hold Phoenix. And then they never say, oh, and it's really weird if we both go for the robos. There's this sort of weird assumption, like, if we're both going to it, I'll just figure out when it is. But we have, again, a nice, clear, simple goal. Defense speed, if he's going for an early pool. Offensive speed Zerglings if he's going for an early hatch. Good, good, good. And note that TSL Revival's doing the same shit, and because I do not enjoy saying the same thing twice, I will not do talking for that brief period of time. IdrA going to go ahead and make 2 queens right off the bat, and what you're probably noticing is that there's no Zerglings being produced. This is one of these logical deduction problem things that you kind of have to end up saying to yourself. Why get these Zerglings up? Well, if he's 10 pooling, I've already been hit. So I haven't been hit. I know he's not 10 pooling. If he's 14 pooling, I will have seen it with these 2 suckers. So I haven't seen it. I've actually seen some creep. So don't waste it on the extra Zerglings. Notice that it's just 2 lings out of IdrA. Drones out of TSL Revival. I mean, I don't think there's ever anything that bad about getting a pair of Zerglings just to do something like secure some watchtowers. Nothing too bad about that. But I do want to focus a good bit on what's going on at home. Keeping dudes in the gas. Now, we have a Baneling nest down from IdrA, and we're going to end up seeing a Roach Warren down for our good buddy TSL Revival. And there's this idea in Zerg versus Zerg that I think is one of the most critical things. As I satisfactorily scratch that itch. In Zerg vs. Zerg, the first 3 units, Lings, Banelings, and Roaches, are so incredibly, unbelievably good that it's hard to get past that phase. So a lot of times you kind of have to build a lot of Roaches, Lings, or Banelings for defense. And the trick in the matchup that people have discovered is that it's okay to overbuild defense and then just go attack. In a matchup like, let's say, Terran versus Terran, I can do something like build some siege tanks early on, and because I have my tanks already sieged, I'm totally cool and defended. I can get away with not very much defense. In Zerg vs. Zerg, if you try to get not much defense, you have 8 Roaches and he has 12 Roaches, and you just immediately die, which sucks. So, overbuilding units is pretty common with the intention of attacking with them. Very common to see Sen do this. He does this a lot. When IdrA builds this Baneling nest, he's essentially making a decision to do a lot of Zergling aggression. Might not look like that, but that is essentially what he's committed to do. We don't have enough gas to get Roaches and Banelings at the same time at the start of the game. And of course he walks by the Roach Warren and sees it. Yeah, we don't have enough to get the Roach Warren. Okay, so that basically means we're not making Roaches for a brief period of time. Against the same thing, against my opponent going Zergling Baneling, I have these defensive Banelings up. I'm going to position them properly, and then I'm going to try to get a little bit of a drone lead. See, we see IdrA making some of those drones right away. Against a Roaching player, I need to be very aggressive with my speed Zerglings. I can't just power like crazy and just get a ton of drones up. I have to put some pressure back on my opponent, otherwise this Baneling nest actually has negative value. We're trying to make it positive. So in that Union Counting Station, we see for a brief period of time, IdrA ends up getting ahead on drones. Revival is going to be making himself a bunch of Roaches at the start of the game. We're going to see some more end up popping up here. Yeah, all's looking good. But I want to start asking some more questions at this phase. And I want to start asking things like why. I want to start asking us things like why. IdrA is, of course, going to be the focus player of this here game. We see Speed Zerglings immediately rushing out through the center of the map. Because he has seen a Roach Warren. He wants to try to apply pressure back to his opponent. Now, why is he making this Evolution Chamber and Roach Warren? He's making the Roach Warren because if my opponent is going Roaches, the only way I can hold off a ton of Roaches early is with Roaches. Alright, everyone get that? If you see suddenly 14 Roaches start coming at you and you try to make, I don't know, 26 Zerglings? Whoa, 26 Zerglings? That's 13 larvae worth of Zerglings. That's a lot of Zerglings. You're going to lose. Yeah, great, cool. So, the Roach Warren allows us to defend against that. Cool. Sameness. But this is really IdrA's hallmark of just winning, is that he just sneaks in all these other little upgrades, right? So, I want to rephrase what we're seeing IdrA do right now. I don't want to say, oh yeah, derp, derp, derp. He's building an Evolution Chamber, he's building Roaches, Roaches for defense, Evolution Chamber for upgrades. Because that would be describing simply what he's doing. Why? Well, in my eyes, here's the logic process. I am going to try to power a little harder earlier on. So what I'm going to do is use these cheaper Zerglings to pressure him early on. What will this gain me? Maybe 100 or 200 extra minerals, and I'm going to be using this to get as fast as humanly possible a +1 upgrade as I can, and this is my edge that I'm working with. Here's the edge that I'm going to be having at this point in the game. Getting a good count on all those Roaches right off the bat. A couple Banelings getting made down here for some counterplay. Our +1 does indeed get started. One spine crawler is never actually bad to build. But a lot of this is just this good spotting here, having the Zerglings here, just skirting the edge and seeing the number of roaches that are indeed there. TSL Revival is going to get himself a layer up. IdrA is going to get himself a layer up. And this is one of these weird moments where you actually, like, kind of can get away with this. The question would be, what if you see a lot of roaches sprinting towards you? Well, there's two situations, and in Zerg vs. Zerg, you have to do this a lot. In one situation, we're up against exactly this, a Zerg who's also going for economy. In the other circumstance, we're going for a Zerg who's going to be going all out roach like crazy. You can actually do insane things like build 1 billion spine crawlers. And by 1 billion, I mean something more like 6 or 7 and a lot of roaches, because obviously you need to stay alive now. He spent all his larvae on units, so you can appropriately spend some of your larvae, aka drones, to build those spine crawlers and to be able to defend. But as a follow-up, now that you have all these spine crawlers up against that sort of crazy aggression, what advantage are you going for? What is your advantage? What is your edge? Well, your edge would be tech. You have a tech advantage, and you still have this upgrade advantage started. So again, against an equivalent player, we're going to be a little ahead against upgrades. If we're up against an all-inning player, we can do an emergency defense and still be ahead in terms of this upgrade and the layer timing upgrade. Nice, clear goals. And of course, we're going to continue to poke and prod. IdrA starting to move over here, trying to get some information. Sees these 2 gas geysers going down. Are you seeing how big that is? Why the hell would a huge, aggressive, all-inning player be trying to get 2 gas geysers up that early? We're also getting a roach count. We also see that there are not one, but 2 spine crawlers up. These are surprisingly, ridiculously big indicators of what someone's strategy is going to be. And in fact, for any of you who might feel a little weirded out by this sort of notion of making that big of a conclusion, rewatch your own games where you are doing huge aggressive 2-base Ling Roach all-ins, or just a lot of Ling Roach attacks. And just count how many spine crawlers you have, how many Evo chambers you have. Seems good. And of course someone is going to ask the question, well, what if I'm going to go all in and I just build those 2 geysers anyways? Well, you've just wasted 2 drones when you're probably only going to be having about 20 drones total, so you've thrown away 10% of your economy for the element of surprise. And you're going to surprise him with a shitty all-in. Ha! Don't rely on surprise. Yeah.
Our forces are under attack.
So, I really feel like by seeing that, by seeing no real pressure here, IdrA is going to just take a 3rd base, and he's just going to build some roaches. He's just going to start building them up. And as we can see, immediately starting to add on more and more roaches. And this is a phase in gameplay that I think makes a lot of sense for IdrA. He's been powering really, really hard. He's taking his expansion. He's creating a vulnerability. We cannot mass spine crawler to defend this. So we have to start making roaches. And what was that principle that I said earlier? Well, the units in this game are so incredibly good. Excuse me, the units in Zerg vs. Zerg are so incredibly good that we kind of need them to defend, and if we overbuild our roaches, we can always use them to attack. That's the important thing. If we have 16 roaches and he has 10, we can actually attack and win. So IdrA's going to do this very obviously intelligent thing. Build an Overseer as fast as humanly possible and attack. He's getting roach speed and not much else. Not much else. Still no drones. Still no drones. So right before he has come in, why was he building all these drones? Because the Zerglings kept poking at the front. It saw some roaches. It didn't see the roach count increase. It didn't see the roach count increase. Still has not really seen this roach count increase very much. And then he saw not 1 but 2 spine crawlers, and then he ended up seeing these 2 extractors. And if you are really shitting your pants, then just run the Zerglings up here and then go, ooh, he has a lot of drones. Nice. And you can make a good judgment there. Right as IdrA was gearing up to take his 3rd, well, you know what? Now he's going to start slamming out roaches. As one other brief thing to note, it's hard to support non-stop roach production on 2 perfectly larva-injected hatcheries. You need a good amount of drones to perfectly produce out of those 2 hatches. So what this means is that if you have really good macro, you can get 10 roaches at a time. 10 roaches at a time. It's 4 for the larva popping off on each hatch, plus an extra larva on each, and 5 and 5 is 10. You can make about 10 at a time, exactly what we're seeing IdrA do. If your opponent was going for a weak economy push, he can maybe support building 6 or 7 roaches at a time. So this delay by IdrA suddenly allows him to catch right on up. And IdrA's going to poke in here, try to look around. He's going to see a spire, and that's really all he needs to see at this point in time. And he's going to end up skirting a little bit here. He sees an evolution chamber. And now we have some interesting decisions as IdrA. Some really interesting decisions. Still note, they're about equal in the drone count. They're about equal in the roach count, because of the fact that there's 8 roaches about to pop for Revival. And what we want to do now, before we head into the break, is look at all these great decisions that IdrA makes with relation to his economy, to be able to get so far ahead. Step 1. What is our goal in this matchup? Goal. Said it so much. We want to be ahead in terms of upgrades. Boom. There's the +2 going down. Nothing too fancy and sophisticated about that. If we overbuild roaches, what can we always do? We can always move out to attack. Oh, look at this. We saw this hatch building. Let me actually back up. I want to go to the IdrA cam. Alright, so we're going to see what he sees. And I want to direct your eyes up to the top here. Alright, so on the mini-map, there he ends up seeing this hatchery after he starts building the drones. After he starts building the drones. It's very easy to be like, oh, he saw an expand. Okay, cool, he's going to be powering the economy. It's the spire is the big thing that he ended up seeing, and of course is keeping a good eye at this point on the map. So he's just moving right on out. And I think that this is quite brilliant to get this Hydralisk den up. And look at this. My opponent's going Mutalisk, 2 spine crawlers in the main to sort of zone onto this side. Spine crawlers here? No. Spine crawlers here? No. These are the only spine crawlers that IdrA actually makes for the whole game. Excuse me, spore crawlers. These are the only spore crawlers that IdrA makes for the whole game. So we see IdrA move out. He's seeing the roaches start to move out as well. And he just pulls right on back. Not really a big deal. Still building those drones up because he's getting the Hydralisks up. One of 2 things is going to happen. He's either going to have Mutalisks, and alright, cool, we're going to have Hydralisks out to defend, or he's going to just try to do non-stop roach production, which is actually what we see Revival do. And if he goes non-stop roach production, we can have fewer roaches and a couple Hydras to be able to defend. Think of how brilliant that is. I see a spire. If he does go Mutalisk, I have the anti-air. If he doesn't and tries to trick me and go all in, I'm still okay making a couple extra drones here and relying on the power of my Hydralisk and a little bit of that power of being the defender. And hell, I'm ahead on upgrades too, which definitely helps. And there's not really that much that Revival can do. And amazingly, IdrA is able to sneak in a ton more drones here based upon that really nice decision making in terms of his larva management. His +2 is going to be kicking in a moment, and I thought that was quite cool. That all of a sudden, IdrA is sprinting ahead in this economy battle. He's a little behind in food because his opponent has so many roaches, but he's put himself up into a great position based upon some seemingly tough situations. Oh, is he going A or is he going B? Is he going Mutalisk or is he going to be roach all-inning? Well, if he's going Mutalisk, I'm going to move out with my roaches and try to apply a lot of pressure and then use my Hydralisk to defend. But if he's going to roach all-in, I'm going to move out with my roaches and just move him right on back and then still have roach Hydra there to defend. It's a nice little balancing act that we're seeing there. Oh, whoopsie daisies. I accidentally did Alt-4 instead of Alt-3, and is that the image that I had there? I know like Alt-9 is a Blue Sky Black Death album, and so is Alt-0, but Alt-4 is apparently me and Sen. Whoopsie daisies. Let's go ahead and take a break, guys. See you in a sec. And when we go to part 3, we're going to look at the long-term play that comes out of IdrA that I find quite brilliant. See you in just a bit.